The Cincinnati Bengals were one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL during the 2024-2025 season, going 9-8, missing the playoffs with Joe Burrow having a absolutely, maybe potential unanimous MVP type of season. But this offseason looks like the Bengals are hoping to secure their trio of stars with brand new deals, including wide receiver Jamar Chase, along with Tee Higgins and defensive end Trey Hendrickson. The only issue is their first move looks like they're going to do a franchise tag on Tee Higgins and then work with Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson trying to get their long-term deals done. Last time we saw Tee Higgins get franchise tag, he requested a trade. Not a great start to a potential contract negotiation, but here's my question to you. The Bengals are probably the cheapest franchise in the NFL.
Definitely.
Do you believe that the Bengals will be able to get this situation sorted properly and end up by the 2025 season, week 1, having Jamar Chase on a long-term deal, Trey Hendrickson on a long-term deal, and Tee Higgins also on a long-term deal?
They're going to try, I guess, but they're off to a horrible start. Why would they do this to Tee Higgins? They did it to him last year, and it pissed him off. He sat out the training camp, and he asked for a trade. It was just terrible. And he had actually, when he got hurt, and he came back and had a really good season in the games that he played. Well, he's going to say, well, you're disrespecting me. I think that even if they say, oh, we're going to get a deal done, they didn't last year. They didn't get a deal done for him last year. If they can't reach the deal with him, they got the tag. They're going to put the tag on him for sure. And they have to get the deal done before the 4th of March if they don't want to. Even if they put the tag on him and reach a deal with him to make him happy. If they don't, they have until July 15th. But then they're using the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means another team can come in there and offer him a deal, or multiple teams could offer him a deal. And if he wanted to accept it, then the other team has to give up their first-round draft pick, which is a pretty high price to play for a team like the Patriots, who really wanted Tee Higgins.
The Ravens did that with Lamar Jackson, if we remember, a couple years ago. They placed the non-exclusive.
Right. They did that. But nobody wanted to trade their first-round pick
or pay
give
him,
it up.
Or
pay
overshot
him the
completely.
which
Lamar,
probably was a mistake for any other team. Look at the way Lamar Jackson has played. There's no deal if he plays for another year under the tag with a 26 the new deal. His deal would be $26.2 million, but that's never going to happen because I just think he'll make so miserable for the Bengals if they try to go that route that it will. And he's probably already angry right now. I think the Bengals are trying to. This is another mistake the Bengals are making. I think trying to fulfill Burrow's wishes.
Oh, why is that a mistake?
Well, because that plays into the Aaron Rodgers type of mentality where the player is running the team. The player is running the team. You can't let that happen.
Hot take.
I think Burrow's right. I think he's right, but they shouldn't. He shouldn't be so vocal about it out in the press. I don't think, and I think that the Bengals need to work behind. So they need to get this straightened out pretty quickly. I think it could turn into a real mess.
It's already a mess.
Higgins been really good since 2020 when they drafted him. 2,000-yard seasons, 2 years of 1,000 yards at least, and more than 900 yards in all but 1 year. His 34 TDs, which is pretty good. He's a perfect complement to Jamar Chase.
Absolutely.
They're the two, I think the two are probably you make an argument they're the best wide receiver duo in the NFL.
Maybe.
One problem here for them is Higgins has an injury history lately with 2 hamstring injuries. He missed 5 games in each of the past 2 seasons, which may have affected management. But now Burrow's running the show, so they're not going to let it bother. They're going to go after him. The offense has been in the top 7 in scoring 3 of the past 4 years. Higgins would be the top wide receiver in free agency if he got that far.
Probably top player.
Franchise tag, as I mentioned, is non-exclusive, so other teams can make offers that the Bengals have to match or let him walk, and they wind up with a first-round pick. Bengals plan to get the long-term deal done, they say, after tagging him. I think this is bad for the Patriots, so they were targeting Higgins probably at at least at $30 million a season.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's going to
absolutely.
take. And how do you do all three of those guys if he's going to get $30 million a season? They say he'll take less, or they expect him to take less in the first year, so the team can focus on Chase and Gesicki and Hendrickson, and particularly Hendrickson and Chase. But Gesicki played really well with Burrow. I mean, he played for the Patriots. He was a non-factor. He didn't blow anything.
You can talk about the quarterback and the fact that the scheme was terrible.
Yeah, terrible too. But Gesicki looks like a very good very good tight end.
Yeah, I would agree.
The Patriots have $123 million in cap space. They might say the hell with it. We're going to give him the first round pick, and we're going to take Higgins and give him a big deal. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Robert Kraft's got a lot of egg on his face where the Patriots have been playing last few years, and a lot of it's been the criticism of having no wide receivers that are any good.
I completely agree, but you asked a very interesting question. How are they going to pay for all these guys? Here's my answer. The Eagles are already doing it.
Yeah.
They have 7 guys with over $50+ million contracts. Bengals got 2. And by the way, if you take Orlando Brown Jr., he would be the second lowest on this list. Second low. That means that the Eagles are paying, 6 guys more than the second highest contract on the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
And one of them is $255 million, $25 million less than Joe Burrow. And Jalen Hurts didn't need to restructure nothing. Joe Burrow is open to restructuring his contract. So, yeah, while you might say that, Joe Burrow is really running the show here, well, we got to think about what Joe Burrow has done. He just put up an MVP-level type season. He put the team on his back consistently. And we can complain about the early season struggles, but that's something of Burrow's career. So if we want to indict him for that, we have to indict his whole career for not being able to pick it up early in the year. And mostly, besides this year, it was really due to injuries that really hindered the opening of each season for the Cincinnati Bengals. But they need to get this done. There is no excuse anymore. There is no excuse why. You have 3 guys, 2 of which already requested a trade from your team just this prior offseason, one of which is a very, very beautiful compliment to Jamar Chase. And guess what? When both of them are out there, you can't double Chase because Tee Higgins will explode onto the scene. And Trey Hendrickson just had back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. You got to start paying these guys. Jamar Chase is going to break Justin Jefferson at, $35 million apiece. According to Spot Track, Tee Higgins is worth a little bit over $25 million. My guess is he's going to get very close or reach $30 million per season. And when we take a look at Trey Hendrickson, top-tier pass rushers, they're getting about $30 million a year. But that's okay. That is perfectly okay. When you have a quarterback willing to take less and performs at a very high level, you have a wide receiver, 2 wide receivers that are basically your offense, and you have the only pass rusher that did something, because if you take a look at the team sacks versus Trey Hendrickson, it's 17.5 for Hendrickson, and 18.5 for the rest of the team. He basically had half of his team's entire sacks. No other teammate, I think, reached 5 sacks. So you got to start paying these guys. You're the cheapest franchise in the NFL. You have no running game. Your defense was abysmal. So yes, while we might say, well, we got to have money for the other players. How does Howie Roseman do it? Jalen Hurts, draft pick. Devontae Smith, draft pick. All these guys are draft picks. The top guys are draft picks. A.J. Brown they got from Tennessee, but you just need to hit on a bunch of drafts and you're fine. Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, they were rookies this year. Draft picks. If you can't hit on draft picks, then guess what? Just like a bunch of other teams, you're going to be in this cycle of you have some players that are great, you pay a lot of money for, but in totality, you're not going to find a lot of success. So you need to hit on draft picks. That's the number one thing. And even Burrow talked about that. They need players that are young, that are cheap, and that can win. In the big-time moments, they need to win. Because it will not shock me. You wait 2 seasons of this, just back-and-forth nonsense, with general manager, malpractice, and Joe Burrow still being who Joe Burrow is, which is a phenomenal, top 3 quarterback when healthy. Who says he doesn't request a trade?
Yeah.
Or demand at this point, because it seems like every single player on the Bengals now has requested a trade. Jermaine Pratt just requested a trade. Tee Higgins and Trey Hendrickson last offseason requested a trade. Everybody's gone. You let Joe Mixon walk. Guess what? I'm not saying that Joe Mixon makes them a top 5 rushing team, because I think they were 31st or 32nd last year with him as the primary rusher. But just replacing him for Chase Brown? What are we doing here? Seriously, what the hell are the Bengals doing here?
The biggest problem is on defense.
Yes.
And they fired their DC and they hired a new guy. So that was probably a step in the right direction.
25th
you're right.
total defense.
You're right. They need to get some young talent. They need to do well in the draft. And if they can do that and get these three guys signed and maybe find a way to keep Gesicki there. If I were Gesicki, I'd want to stay there. I'd be willing to, maybe not take the biggest contract. And it would take a couple-year contract, and wind up he had a great year this past year. He has 2 more years like that. He'd be in line for a big contract too. So I think they'll find a way to get. I think they'll find a way to get that done. But right now, I'm pretty sure it looks pretty messy because Tee Higgins, the franchise tag, didn't sit well with him last year, and I'm sure he's very unhappy about it right now.
And we have to. And I'll make this very clear. The Bengals have never needed a top 10 defense to go far. They made back-to-back AFC Championship games. In 2021, they had the 18th best defense, and in 2022, they had the 16th best defense. So averaging a below-average defense is good enough for Joe Burrow to perform. Mm-hmm. And that's on top of the fact how Joe Burrow had no offensive line basically his entire career. Mm-hmm. So this is not Joe Burrow needs, pieces around him like some lesser quarterbacks and some mid-average quarterbacks. He just needs a level of competency. That's it.
Well, I think he also needs a coaching staff there that can find a way to win a game in September.
Yeah.
Come on. This is ridiculous. They were 1-4.
Yeah. No,
in the first 5 games of the year. They were awful. They got beat by the Patriots in the opening game last year. What were they thinking about? It's ridiculous. They have to find a way to win some games in September. They dug a deep hole for themselves. They were 1-4.
Yeah.
Nobody makes the playoffs starting out 1-4, and they proved it. They didn't make it.
Well, since 2021, guess how many wins Joe Burrow has in the first 2 weeks of the season? Since 2021, the first 2 weeks, guess how many wins he has?
2.
1.
1
win in the first 2 weeks since 2021. They don't win in early September.
No.
And most of it is due to Joe Burrow getting hurt in the preseason or in training camp or something like that, and it lingers. But that really is no excuse, because this year he was healthy. You opened the season with a very poor performance against the New England Patriots and Jacoby Brissett. With a team that had no offensive line, that had an offensive lineman in that game get benched, I think, after the first drive in Okorafor, and you lost to Jacoby Brissett. That's bad. That's actually horrific. But I'll give you the Kansas City Chiefs game. You had a defensive player decide, you know what, let's ruin the game for everybody, and on a 4th and 13, get a defensive pass interference call.
Yeah. Then you missed some field goals that were very makeable,
and then you lose to Jaden Daniels in week 3.
Yeah.
But again, Jaden Daniels, that's something, But don't worry, hold on. There was a signing today. Remember that rookie punter that botched the snap against the Baltimore Ravens? They signed him to, I think, a 2-year deal.
All right.
First big signing of the offseason, and it's your rookie punter. Congratulations, Bengals.
Oh, what
are we doing here?
Their ownership is cheap. They didn't have an indoor facility for the longest time. That's pretty cold.
I also believe they don't have an official general manager.
It's pretty cold in the winter out in Cincinnati, man. When you get into December and you don't have an good indoor facility to work with, they finally got one of those. So they've been found out. They've been exposed. Joe Burrow has played a role in that. They've got to make amends here, or I agree with you. Joe Burrow will be wanting to say bye-bye.
Well, I think it would help to get more scouts. They have the fewest amount of scouts in their own division, and they don't have a GM. They just have a director of player personnel in Duke Tobin.
Yeah.
So maybe, get more people on the scouting side of things, make some good deals, actually live up to the level of talent that you currently do have on your roster, because according to the past 2 seasons, the talent wants to leave. So when is it Joe Burrow's? And by the way, Joe Burrow, I'm sure, wants to be a Cincinnati Bengal for his entire career. Why wouldn't you want to be? At this point, you were drafted there. You made a Super Bowl. You beat Mahomes in an AFC Championship game. You're really still the only quarterback in your own conference to really, or besides Josh Allen in the regular season. But you're the only quarterback to disrupt Mahomes and his rhythm. So all Burrow needs is a level of competency. That's it. You can't have the 25th ranked defense in the NFL. Give him the 16th best defense, the complete average defense, and you make the Super Bowl. You make the AFC Championship game. Level of competency. I'm sure that's all Joe Burrow is asking for. We're not trying to be, the San Francisco 49ers or the Baltimore Ravens. Level of competency. That's all the Bengals need.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for watching this clip of the Harvey Hour. If you want to watch the full show, you can by clicking the eye in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to take the show with you on the go, it is available wherever you get your podcast. We go live here on YouTube every single Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified whenever we upload a video and whenever we go live.